I think we've all there was a time where the common phrase that was used and maybe still used by some people is that, man, that Mark Stoops is underrated and he doesn't get enough credit for what he's done. I would have
Sure.
to think after, 7 straight bowl games now, surely we're starting to get past that, but I still think there is, a portion out there that probably still doesn't understand just what he's built there in terms of just the consistency, overall, just with this program. And now you go into the season, as we're going to talk about here with some of the other topics, expectations are very, very high. Just your overall thoughts, kind of what Mark Stoops has done since he's taken this job. It's hard to believe it is. The more I look at this, I'm like, I sort of feel old because I'm like, this guy's been there a decade now.
Yeah.
But it is again interesting to think to go from 2-10 in his first season. Now we're talking about a team that has just consistently won games. It's pretty remarkable just what they've become since he started there.
Yeah, no question. And he's done it, the right way. You mentioned the first season, his record, 2 wins. He actually stair-stepped. If you go back and look chronologically, he added a win there for every year that he was on board. And he's built it methodically. He's done it, quote unquote, the right way. I think is a worker's mentality, a yeoman's mentality. Coach Stoops is probably one of the most unassuming coaches in the league. But he's now the second most tenured, only behind Nick Saban at Alabama. And I know a lot of Kentucky fans have a lot of pride around that fact. And he's been able to retain top coaching talent. And then when there's been a fall off or when he's lost somebody to, quote unquote, a better job or a promotion, which has happened repeatedly under Mark Stoops, he's been able to backfill pretty quickly. But I think, over his tenure, the ability to hire and retain and develop not only as players, but great coaches and coordinators like Brad White, which I know we'll talk about on defense. And of course, the auspicious return of Liam Coen this year. So I don't think there's any secret to it. He's I think, truly authentic, and his players and those that he recruits will tell you what you see is what you get from both Mark Stoops and his coaching staff.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the coaching staff part. Like you said, that was something we had on our list going into this, and I think everyone is just salivating over the return. I think of Liam Coen and just seeing not just with him, but I think it's the pieces that he has in place, and we'll add on to that here in a few minutes when we talk about the quarterback situation, especially that wide receiver group as well. But you brought up Brad White and Liam Coen having both of these guys, and really looking at just the coordinating duo and where they rank in the SEC, because I think, again, you could have a variety of opinions on that, but there's no doubt when you talk about guys who have just proven it, we always say every year, right? And I know last year was disappointing from an offensive standpoint, but you just know to expect Kentucky's defense is going to give you fits at times every single season. We come to expect that with Mark Stoops teams. And now you bring back Liam Coen, who, again, just the pedigree that's there. And I always make the joke that anybody that's breathed, the same air as Sean McVay, sometimes everyone is just, is going to get excited about. But we know he's proven it, though, at Kentucky before. And I think having these two guys being able to lead each side of the ball, that's just as important as anything. Because like we said, Mark Stoops hasn't done this by himself. And now when you have these two guys who are familiar with what he wants to do, and you've had Brad White in place for, a little while now, Cohen's been there before, that's a nice setup versus maybe other teams out there that are changing coordinators across the board, as we've seen in a couple different places in the SEC. So,
yeah, no question. And again, if we look at the two together, arguably the best coordinating duo in the league. I would put them up objectively against anyone else. And, you look back at their history. Brad White came in from the Indianapolis Colts 5 years ago as a linebackers coach. He was quickly promoted thereafter into his current role as defensive coordinator. And his ability, in that first year, he worked directly with Josh Allen, who many may remember was the number 7 overall pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars, not the quarterback, but the edge rusher. Built Josh Allen into a first All-American, first team All-American selection and a top 10 draft pick. And his ability to develop talent, his scheme is, and his ability to relate to players is also notable here. And he just gets the best out of his players. They love playing for him. And, if we look at and shift the personnel, I mean, it starts on that defensive line and what he's been able to kind of build and anchor this year, especially with Deion Walker there at the tackle position. And it's really exciting in terms of the caliber and the coaching level that Brad White brings to Kentucky football.